All right. So we were just, Sabrina, you're right, we were just rolling blankets. So what you'll need is one blanket that is a little bit like thicker and weightier that you can roll up and get quite a bit of big roll. So it could be also your beach towel. And so we'll start with this. And then would be lovely if you'd have another blanket handy on the side. When we come to lie down on this one, then I want your head to be on the same level with your shoulder blades. So it could be that you grab like pillow or two that you can put under your head. So it depends how thick your pillow is. Or it could be like if you have yoga blocks, it could be a yoga block and a blanket over the yoga block. So something like that. So that's where we'll start with. And then I want to also prepare you so that you don't have to go wandering off at the end of the practice. I would love to hold our last posture a little bit longer, like 15 minutes. And so it could be that, and I'll give you a few options. And one of the options is to use a chair. So putting your lower legs on a seat of a chair. But if you are close to your bed, or there's like a sofa, so you could use that as well. Or if you know that the legs up against the wall posture really works for you, then that could also be one of those postures. And if you do have an actual like yoga bolster, then you could have that handy as well. I have about 10 up on my shelf, but I can't give you any over the internet. And the way we'll do today, again, last week as well, we had also a little bit of movement. So that's going to be a similar template today that we'll do a tiny bit of movement while we in the shape and kind of while we settle, and then we hold them for longer. Okay? So you guys have your stuff handy. And I'll start to set us up into the first shape. So I've made my roll. I have stuff there for my head. And then as I begin to lie into it, the blanket roll is going to be quite high up. So I'm going to have the blanket roll in such a way that my shoulders are going to be just slightly above it. So it's almost like the top end of it is in my armpit. That's where I'll have. And you can wiggle around whilst we spend some time here. You can wiggle a little bit and just find what's comfortable. And then notice that what's under my head, it's keeping my head and kind of my chest on the same level, so my head is not tilting back, so I feel I can kind of place my hands behind the head, lengthen the back of the head, place the head back down. And then I'm going to keep my feet on the mat for now. And then I'm going to send my arms out to the sides for a moment. We'll play with the arms and just change the position for a bit. But if this feels like too much pull in front of your shoulders, you could also kind of rest the arms on the blanket and then palms coming onto the rib cage, for example. So that's also an option. So set this up and we'll do a little bit of movement here in a moment. And that movement can be a kind of tiny bit active, but then know that after that we're going to come and we'll just hold this shape for a bit. But maybe close your eyes. And at this stage you could slide your legs also straight. We just take a couple of moments before we kind of come into the movement, and just take like a longer exhale once you've set it all up. Just see if you need to change anything, get a little bit more support. All right, I have more people coming in. Hi, Mira. So those who have already settled in, just stay there for a bit before we start moving. Hi, Mira. I'm going to mute you for now. I actually have to ask Mira you to mute yourself because somehow it's like this, that I don't have any controls. Something is wrong with our yellow yoga system. And you'll need one blanket rolled up like this, and something under your head. So I have a block and a blanket, but could equally be like a pillow. So when I was lying back here, I had my head and my kind of chest on the same level, so my head was not tilting back. And show me, Mira, have you done restorative before? Give me like, yes, cool, okay, awesome. All right. So I came onto the blanket roll. So the top of the blanket roll is kind of right at where my armpits are. And then arms on either side. And then again, let's take a breath. And then if you have your legs straight, come and step them onto the mat. And then bring your hands and interlock them behind your head. So your elbows are going to drop out to the sides. And feel that for a moment. Just let the gravity pull the elbows down onto the sides. And then you have that support under your lower back, under your upper back. Lift your elbows slightly up towards the ceiling, and then very slowly begin to curl your upper chest up. Kind of the head lifts, the chest curls. So it is a bit of abdominal work, but the fact that you have the blanket under your upper back, that's going to help you. And your lower back can dip and rest onto the ground. And then slowly letting yourself come back. So we'll do that a few times. Elbows open out to the side and chest opens. And then I'm going to slowly lift the elbows and I'm going to curl. So like a little lengthening into the structures in the upper back. And then as I lean back, they kind of get like a little bit of a massage there. So go a few times like this. Slow the rhythm. Let yourself feel. And then one option here would be, if you want to play with that, is to, for a moment, push whatever you have behind your head, push it away so you can also experiment coming into a little bit of a back bend as you lower. And my head doesn't have to come all the way to the ground, but I'm coming to a tiny bit of a back bend. And then I'm slowly coming into curl, like an abdominal curl, lengthening into the upper back region. So you could totally skip that. You could simply keep your head just coming back onto your cushions or onto your block. And a couple of more here like this with the movement. And make sure that that blanket roll is not too high, so nothing is straining. And then next time when you curl back, I'm going to take my headrest back and I'm going to pause for a moment. And again, resting the arms out to the sides, relaxing, maybe the legs go straight. So settling here for a bit, no movement. Head is supported. And again, if arms to the sides feels too much, then let yourself rest your arms kind of on that blanket roll or elbows on the ground and palms on your ribcage. That also works. Feel the weight of the body dropping. And then we'll do one more movement before we then hold this shape for a little bit longer. So step the feet back onto the mat. Bring the hands again behind your head and interlock them. And then lift the elbows a little bit up towards the ceiling more. And then let yourself curl up once more. And once you're in that curled position, begin to roll over to right side. And if your knees can dip a little bit. So think of like you want to really kind of massage these muscles at the back of your armpit. My head is supported and resting on the hands and then rolling onto the other side. I'm going to let my pelvis tip a little bit as well. So I'm curled up and then I'm curling from side to side, massaging my shoulder blades and musculature in the upper back. And find kind of easeful, smooth way with this. So as I said, my pelvis is tilting a little bit, my knees are tipping from side to side. So that's why the blanket roll kind of has to be a little bit more sturdy. So if it's a super soft blanket, then that doesn't work. And let's go a few more times, side to side. And then next time you move through the center, again, get your head nicely cushioned onto something, and then choose an arm position again that works. Cactus arms straight to the sides or elbows on the ground, hands on the rib cage or belly. Sliding your legs straight if that works for you. If it's tensing your lower back, you could also keep the feet on the mat and rest the knees against each other. And then if you have something to cover your eyes, then that might also be quite helpful here. Having like a shawl or even an eye pillow over your eyes. And so let yourself settle there. Let the body get really heavy. Feel the support. Mm-hmm. Feel your chest, your heart, especially your lungs as well here, a little elevation. Feel the hinge of your jaw softening. The features in your face relaxing a little bit more. Let yourself feel the shapes that the breath creates in the body. Maybe follow your inhale all the way in. Feel where it reaches, or imagine where it could reach as you ride the breath like a wave through the tissues of the body. And then see if you can also stay with the out breath. Feel the shapes it makes. Let's give it about another minute here. And then come and start to step your feet onto the mat. Just roll over to one side. Let that blanket roll for a moment stay exactly where it is. Press onto the ground and roll up to seated. And just keep the blanket and whatever you had under your head, keep it there. And then come to seat with soles of the feet together, taking the hands in front. Or you could also be cross-legged, whatever feels better. And then let yourself do a few like rounding back. So now feel into that area where that blanket roll was, and you can just curl back. And very slow motion, let yourself rock forward. And so go a few more times, and even maybe pause here when you are rolled back. Really kind of feel that area in the upper back. And then rolling forward. So a few more like that. Nice. One last one. And then we're going to set up a next posture where the blanket roll is going to come under the rib cage. So I need to kind of re-roll it a little bit. It's gotten flat a bit. And let us do right side so that when I instruct you, it's easier, unless you can't see your screen or something. So then you could do the other side, but know that I'm doing my right side rib cage is going to go over the blanket roll. So I'm going to thread my right hand between whatever is under your head and between the blanket roll, so the shoulder can easily come onto the ground, and then I wiggle. And again, it's kind of like the end of the roll is kind of right where your armpit is. You can play, it doesn't have to be so precise. And I'm going to be so that I have a little bit of room to again roll back on that blanket roll. So I'm going to be a little bit on one end of it, and then I'm going to take my head onto that support. So it could be your pillow, whatever you were using. And then the knees can be stacked. It doesn't have to be precise. And we're going to go a few times, rolling the top arm, left arm, taking it up and kind of starting to roll open. And I'm only going to go to a place where I start to feel the stretchy sensation. I'm not going to actually push myself all the way open, so I stay quite soft with this. And then I'm going to roll back. And once more, it's kind of a sensation that there's like a massage along the rib cage, the bottom rib cage. But I'm also exploring that range of movement that's possible in that top shoulder. And so again, just very, very lazily tracing that arm up and over, kind of like a half circle, maybe even not completing that half circle, and slowly back. See if you can slow it down for a bit. Keep the movements really, really smooth. And then next time, when the arms are resting against each other, we'll change it a little bit. So I'm going to step my top foot kind of a little bit behind the front foot. And so you find that distance. So when I start to curl open, I'm going to let that top knee lift up, so my pelvis is going to also start to tilt. And then as I exhale, I roll it back. And I find it easier to do rather than keeping the feet stacked. I'm going to have the left foot be a little bit behind, or actually quite a lot behind, so that I can roll that thigh open, that pelvis comes and drops a little bit over to the left. And then I'm going to let them drop back, arm draws back. Just a few rounds again where you let more of the body follow that movement that comes from the arm, that comes from that shoulder. And then let's go one more time with the movement. Nice. And next time when you're on your right side, let's pause. You could bring that left thigh back, or if it feels good to keep it a little bit lengthened or stretched to get a little more sensation into the sideline, you could. And then see if it feels okay to take that left arm and kind of rest it over your head, reaching forward. So we're going to pause here for a couple of minutes. You could also be in a half open position. Some people like that the chest stays slightly curled. But again, remember, we're not looking for stretchy sensation. We really want to find a place where we can completely let the muscles get passive. And if the arm up above doesn't work, then you could bring your second blanket or a pillow, whatever you have, kind of between the forearms. So you're just going to rest your left arm on top of the right arm, but it's nice when it's supported. So having a folded blanket or a pillow there between the arms. And then pausing here a couple of minutes. So make any changes you need to. Just feel that this shape works for you, and we are again turning our attention a little bit more to the lungs. So here, feeling the rib cage on that top side, left side. The movement of the ribs, the movement of the diaphragm as well. Let everything soften, and primarily soften away from striving or struggling or forcing anything. So, as I said, if you need to change something about the shape, or even if you start to feel a little bit chilly, then don't stay with that. Give yourself that much care that you take an extra blanket and you cover yourself up. And then notice what shows up when we become still like this. Then gently invite a little bit of a longer breath in. Hold it at the top for just a couple of seconds. Relax around that holding, don't tense. And then give a really slow, steady breath out. And hold also when the breath is out. For just like 1-2 seconds, not long. And then another breath comes in. Smooth breath out and back to a really gentle, natural rhythm. Begin to bring the top arm back and just rest for a moment when the shoulder is really settled. And then begin to press your left arm down onto the ground, kind of reaching away a bit with the top leg as you curl up to seat. And then let yourself stay seated for a moment where your right leg is kind of knees rotated out to the side, and then as you were dragging yourself to a seat, that left knee is now pointing forward and foot is to the outside. Just let yourself sit for a moment. My left sit bum is a little bit lighter, so you don't have to press it onto the ground. There's a little bit more weight on the right sit bone. And we did this movement in last week's class, but I think it was a different crowd then. So just bringing the hands, one hand on the opposite shoulder, and just do tiny rotation, whatever is possible, from right to left, from left to right. Just rotating from side to side very gently. It's not a big movement. As soon as you meet that kind of resistant edge, then you start to move the opposite direction. Just let yourself kind of glide and slide. Imagine that movement, kind of it's a gliding and sliding movement for the tissues, even for your lungs. And then change the arms by sending the arms wide and open, and then rotate from side to side. Take the arms up and let yourself rotate side to side. And almost is a little bit like climbing a rope. When I rotate to the right, the left arm lifts a little bit more. When I rotate to the left, the right arm lifts a little bit more. And then last one is when the hands are going to come behind the back. So I'm going to have the back of the hands touching the lower back, and then I continue with that same rotation from side to side. And then pause at the center, just sit for a moment, let yourself feel. And then you switching to the opposite side, I'm going to just, or maybe I'll switch as well. So you're going to just rotate to the other side. I'm going to switch my blankets around so that you can still see me. I can see you. So you're going to have the left hip sitting on that left hip. The blanket roll is going to come under the left rib cage. Left side of your head is going to be resting on the block, and the left shoulder comes onto the ground between the block and the blanket roll. So you snuggle yourself in there. The thighs can rest on top of each other. And then it's the right arm that begins the circling movement. So it's going to draw you. And you could start small, so you could just barely kind of come lying on your left side, opening that top arm a little bit, and then rolling back. And making space around you, that you have room to let that arm open and close, circle around, let your chest open. And again, find smooth pathways with this. And if there's anything in that shoulder that it kind of, you can't go up, you could also slide it across the chest to open. Across the chest to come back. So that if there's any shoulder stuff happening that bringing the arm up above is not comfortable for the shoulder, then slide it across the chest. Can you let the arm lead and feel how the shoulder follows, how much of the spine follows? And the next time when you're back on your left side, just kind of sliding that right foot slightly behind, and you'll find a place for that. So we start with the variation where the arm rolls, also the knee opens. So the right knee opens. And then exhale, you're rolling back. Everything rolls back. Let's go one more round with this. And then next time when you're on your left side, start to slide that right knee kind of back unless you like it stretched. And then settle that right arm either up above or settle the right forearm on top of the left, but ideally there's some support there so you really feel that right arm is resting on something. And then again, we'll spend a few minutes here. First, there's a settling. Finding your comfort and ease in this shape. Again, let's give it another 5 breaths or so. And then begin to gradually invite a little bit of a deeper breath in. Don't force it, and know that you hold it at the top of that breath for, again, a couple of seconds. Slow inhale. Feeling that right side of the rib cage, holding at the top. Steady, slow exhale. Emptying out. And then just a tiny pause at the bottom. And then a smooth breath. Unrushed, natural rhythm. While you bring your arm back, if you have it up above, just pausing for a moment, just letting that shoulder settle, the right shoulder. And then as you press the right arm in front and kind of lengthen the right leg back behind you so that you can roll up, coming again to seat in a way that the left knee is dropping out and the right knee is pointing forward, and just pausing for a moment. So maybe the size of the body feel a little bit different. Already the posture is such that the sides are doing different things. Take a breath into this shape, and then we'll add the same little rotational movement. So hugging yourself, and then starting to gently rotate from here, from side to side. And then opening the hands wide and letting that draw you into these twists. And again, not forcing anything. Meeting kind of that end range, and then not forcing yourself past it. Smooth gliding movement. Draw the arms up. And then lastly, take them back behind, so back of the hands on that lower back, arms are internally rotated, gliding side to side. And then pausing at the center, releasing the arms, staying in the seat for just a moment longer. And then release that right leg also forward, and take the soles of the feet together and something under the hips. So I'm going to take the blanket roll that I had, I'm going to place that over to one side. I'm going to take the second blanket and then fold that as well. So we're taking some of the stretch out from the hips, and if you could use your pillows. And we're going to do again a few movements, and then coming into a forward fold, and see if you can find something that your head could be supported on. So you might not have blocks, but maybe you have a chair, and that's equally good option. Oop. So to have your forehead supported on something when you're coming forward. So I'll show you from the side how I do it with the chair. So again, I take a very mild forward fold shape. I put a soft layer on top of it. And you could also have your legs straight if that works, but I just kind of like that butterfly variation. And I'm gonna slide that chair to a place where it works. So again, whatever you can find that the forehead can be supported. And if you don't have anything, then it's going to be more like a yin stretch. Maybe you hold it for less amount of time as you fold forward, or just pausing at an edge where there's not too much of a stretch. But I want us to really start to feel, so we've been in that front, we've been to the sides. So let us now give a little bit of space to the back line. Maybe sense the lungs in the back. Consciously guiding a little bit more breath to the back. And finding a shape where it feels restful. It feels supported. So I'm going to stay for another minute or so. Just tune in if you feel that you've had enough. We're next going to simply lie on the back for a moment. So if you're ready to come out, just let your props come to the side, out of the way, so you can lie on the back. If you still feel that it's not agitating you. The pose is not causing to contract. That you can still stay soft, open. Let's stay for a little bit longer. And then take your time, whatever props you use, let yourself roll out. And I'm gonna push my chair out of the way a little bit, taking the blankets to the side and just lying on the back for a moment. If you need, maybe a pillow under your head, but otherwise kind of just flat on the back. Kind of giving your body a moment to sense and integrate the shapes. I sometimes here feel my head wants to roll from side to side, so then you let it. Or then I let it, and if you want to join me in this. And then taking your knees in, maybe rocking a little bit from side to side as you hold the knees. And then let the rocking take you over to one side. Again, the top hand presses down as you roll up to seat. And so now we're at that stage where I wanted for us to hold the posture for a little bit longer to get kind of the full restorative sense, where we hold the postures kind of 15-20 minutes at a time. But you need to choose a posture that works for your body, or what props you also have at home. So I gathered that one of them maybe could be where we use the chair to place our lower legs on a chair. I mean, everyone has a chair at home. You could also use the seat of your sofa or put the legs over your bed, and I'm going to show that in a moment. Other option is to use the wall, so to take the legs straight up over onto the wall. For that, I would encourage you to have some padding under your lower back. So one of the blankets is there for that. I'll show you the chair option in a moment. The legs up against the wall might not work if you have more tighter hamstrings. Then the legs start to shake quite a bit. So it might not be as enjoyable. I'm always liking, a pillow under the head. And then my little trick for the legs up against the wall is to wrap the feet, the legs in a blanket. So I'll just show that quickly for those who want to take this. And if it's the chair variation, then maybe you just have 2 blankets and a pillow handy for your chair. So I'm going to open the blanket up. I'm going to take one hip against the wall. And then I'm pivoting. So my buttocks are against the wall, and they don't have to be. They could also be at a little bit of a distance. And then I take the blanket and I wrap it around, and then I also use it to kind of wrap it around in a way that holds my legs steady here. Pillow. So the head feels leveled, arms can just settle, find their place. And an eye pillow or a cover for the eye. So that's one option. And if it starts to feel that legs are tingly, you could slide them down and bring them back up. So that is one option. And the one that takes the hamstring length out of it is that uses a chair. So you're not having straight legs up, but you're gonna have your bent legs up. I feel like I'm a kid in a playground with all these toys around me. I'm gonna fasten my mic for a moment. So I'll show the chair variation now. I'm going to have one blanket there just for padding, and I'm going to still keep one blanket to wrap around my legs. So I'm going to put it over there so that I can draw it over my legs. And then similarly, having a pillow under the head. And it might be as you're setting it up that you feel that maybe the height of your chair is not correct. You'll see what I mean. You might need some blankets under your sacrum as well. So you could have that there. All right. So this is what this one looks like. I'm going to place my lower legs onto the chair. And then I do a similar wrapping of my legs here with the blanket. And this one's a little bit tricky because you need your abdominal work then to hold you up. So I wrap my legs and then coming down onto elbows, making sure that the legs are not wrapped in a way that they feel kind of tight so that there's space and I can wiggle my toes. Head resting again so that head is not tilted back. Yeah, for me the height works. If you find it kind of hard that the lower back doesn't come easily onto the ground, then you might need another blanket under your lower back. And if there's another shape that you really love and you know that you can hold it for 15 minutes or so to have a little bit of a longer experience in a shape, then please take it. So like the bound angle pose with feet together and the bolster behind your back, for example, but make sure that it's really supported so nothing is overly stretchy anywhere, that the whole body kind of feels it can really rest and settle. And I recommend an eye cover, but any shape that you can have, unless your room is already kind of darker and there's not so much light stimulation coming in. And so as I said, my aim is to give you space here as the sinking, the time is quite an important factor here in this ability to sink deeper and deeper and deeper. And that comfort and warmth is an essential element, because that sinking is not going to happen if we feel discomfort or if we feel cold. So making sure, take that extra care. And I'll guide you just a little bit, but I'm gonna leave you in silence so you haven't lost me. But the whole meaning behind that is that there's not much stimulation coming in as we settle here. So if you're still setting yourself up, take your time. Noticing the surfaces that are holding your body and really kind of feel them sturdy and steady, that there's kind of this sense of trust that you can really lean onto them. Feel the shape of the body. Let yourself really feel the weight of the body. And anywhere you can notice where the body is resisting gravity or the body is still leaning away from support, gently invite, maybe with your exhales, for those body parts, those bits of the body also to settle. Start to very gently bring a little bit more attention to your breath. And again, gradually make it a little bit longer and fuller. Let yourself also feel the emptying out of breath. Let it move all the way out without forcing. One more like that, a longer breath in to the sides, to the top, to the back, like it moves in 6 directions. And then a slow, unrushed breath out. And then obviously if your legs are up against the wall, they can slide back. If you have your legs on your chair, then gently starting to bring one knee at a time, knees to your chest. And then see if you need to push your chair back a little bit. If you're on your sofa or bed, then simply starting to roll over to one side. Stay in that curled position for a moment. And then again, pressing the top hand down and rolling yourself up to seat. Slowly, slowly, slowly take this transition and stay seated for a moment. Again, either it's cross-legged or you could have your feet together in front. And then a gentle movement that we'll do from here is we're going to draw the arms up. And then as you exhale, slowly twisting over to the left. And it's not so much that I'm pulling the arms down. I really feel I'm gliding the shoulder blades down. And I'm only going, again, I'm not pushing myself to my complete range. I'm just going to go over to the side. And then I'm going to reach up. And it's again like a sliding action with the arms. And then I'm going to exhale and twist when the elbows draw down. But it's more those kind of this gliding side body lengthening, and then gliding, sliding down through the arms. Very soft from side to side, a couple of more times. And then one more time to each side. And next time when you're at the center, the palms can go up and they can travel down through the center. And then since if for the end of the practice you want to lie down once more and take a supported shavasana using again something under your head, something definitely to cover, maybe doing a little wrapping of your feet or something under the knees. Or if you want to stay seated and finish in a meditation. So just kind of tune in what would be most supportive. So we did hold that last posture for quite a long while. So do you need like another nice, really slow, passive rest on the ground? Or do you want to kind of investigate staying seated, more upright, but still kind of nourishing those or nurturing those restorative qualities of ease and softness and kindness. So if you are taking shavasana, then just again make sure that you're really comfortable. If you're seated, make sure you're warm as well. And we have about 7 minutes or so, whichever you've chosen, take your time to settle. And if you are staying seated, then also make sure that you use now the props that you have to make the seat comfortable. So I'm sitting on top of a block, and I'm actually having knees forward, feet pointing back. You could be cross-legged, but make sure that, that is comfy. And then whether lying down or seated, sense your inner space. Maybe again for a moment you connect to that inner space through the breath, as the breath brushes through the internal landscape there. Maybe there's a sense of aliveness, a presence. Not overly controlling with this. Finding ease, simplicity. And once more, whether you're seated or whether you're lying down, starting to lengthen the breath. Maybe again playing with a little pause at the top of the breath, but it's comfortable. And then an emptying out. A little moment of pause when the breath is empty. Again, just a couple of seconds, nothing fancy. And then letting the breath return to a natural rhythm. If you're on your back, take your sweet time. If you want to stay longer, you totally can. Finding, again, a gradual pathway up. So rolling to one side to curl up. Joining us, so maybe some of you are already seated. Nice, and then let's tune in with one Om to seal the session. I'm gonna sing here. You can sing in your space if you wish. So if you are joining in, let us empty the breath out and then drawing in a breath to sing. Maybe a little bow forward, head bowing forward towards the fingertips, mind is bowing in front of the wisdom of the heart. I bow to you.